I'm especially privileged to introduce our speaker, Mr. Tom Nicholson. Tom Nicholson is the Executive Director of the Arthur W. Page Society, a professional association for senior public relations and corporate communications executives. He joined the organization in April 2007. Previously, he served in both business management and communications leadership positions. He served as Vice President and General Manager for Avery Weightronics, LLC, one of the largest international manufacturers and sellers of industrial and retail weighing systems. He was responsible for North American revenue increases of more than 40% while improving earnings by more than 11%. Nicholson's communications and public relations experience includes senior management positions at HSBC North America, Sears, and several public relations agencies. As Vice President of Public Relations and Communications for HSBC, he introduced a communications measurement system, reorganized the function, and provided communications counsel to senior management on several acquisitions and crisis situations. During 6 years at Sears, Nicholson started as Senior Public Relations Manager for the $4 billion Home Services Business Unit, and then assumed public relations responsibility for all retail formats, including 850 full-line stores, 700 independent dealer stores, Home Life Furniture, Sears Hardware, The Great Indoors, and NTB Tire and Battery Stores. His work in documenting the linkages between communications activities and sales results was documented in several professional publications, and he served on the Commission on Measurement and Evaluation for the Institute for Public Relations. Prior to working at Sears, Nicholson was the founder of an incorporated 500 fastest growing public relations consultancy and served as vice president at Edelman Worldwide. He began his career as a journalist working in newspapers, radio, and television. He holds a BS degree in journalism from Bradley University and has done executive management work at the College of William and Mary. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Tom Nicholson.
That was great. That was frighteningly good. Let me get rid of this. Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction. I was really nervous because it sounds to me like you got a copy of my resume off of LinkedIn or somewhere. You have more detail on my background than I even remembered. That was very good. It's a real privilege for me to be here. I have been here for about a day and a half, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the time here. I had the privilege earlier today, of actually going up to Salt Lake City and seeing some of the real touristy things about the Church of Latter-day Saints. So that was very interesting, very inspiring. So I enjoyed it a lot. Well, the title of this presentation is, Does Public Relations Have a Future? And the reason I ask that question is because the Page Society about 2 years ago published a paper called The Authentic Enterprise. And after reading The Authentic Enterprise, my very first reaction to it was, well, we as corporate communications professionals are either going to become absolutely indispensable to corporations, or we're going to be completely irrelevant because of many of the changes that are occurring in the business world and in the environment and globalization, technology changes, control of communications. There are so many factors that are changing that you could reasonably ask the question, why am I paying you to do this job? What is it that you contribute to the corporate enterprise, and why should I continue to pay your salary and fund your department? So I did not intend for this to be a scary proposition. Instead, I think it's an exciting time to be in public relations and corporate communications. And so with that as a brief introduction, we'll go ahead and get started. The Arthur Page Society, some of you have already heard this in previous classes, but the Arthur Page Society is all about promoting a better understanding among CEOs of what we as corporate communicators do. That's what the society was founded for, and I encourage you, if you want to know more, you probably already have done it, but if you want to know more, there is a lot of information about Arthur Page and the society on our website. The CEO view of communications, let me run through this quickly, is that when we did this survey of 40 or 50 CEOs, we were asking them, what is your view of the communications function within your company? And what's your view of the Chief Communication Officer? And the answers that we got back, here we go, this will help. The answers that we got back showed that many of them viewed the communications function as more valuable than ever. So that's the good news. However, they also said one thing that we really would like, and we're not sure we're getting from communicators, is a real understanding of our business and how it works and how we make money. We need communicators who are also business executives. Not all CEOs agreed on C-suite status for communications. In many companies that were studied, the Chief Communications Officer did not necessarily report to the CEO. In some of the better companies they did, but it was not uncommon for the Chief Communication Officer to report up through legal or to report up through marketing or a Chief Administrative Officer. There were very different organization structures when we looked at the companies that we surveyed. The ideal, we think, is to report directly to the CEO because as you'll see from some of the later slides, the function has evolved radically over the years. It's no longer simply about media relations and handling 60 minutes when they call. It is a much broader responsibility today. This is a direct quote from the survey that we did. You want the head of communications to be stronger, more experienced, higher quality thinking process, being able to see around corners, broader experience base. You want all of those things. So CEOs are saying, if I'm going to pay this person for this, I want them to be really good, really broad, and to have expertise that is going to be valuable to the company. The other thing about seeing around corners, the public relations officer is probably in the best position to monitor external trends, to monitor what's going on with the competition, although marketing does a lot of that. There are other functions that do that as well. But as the Chief Communications Officer, you really have an opportunity to act as the voice of the customer in the C-suite, to act as the voice of your critics, NGO organizations, all kinds of stakeholders who want to have an influence on how the company does business. And probably the best person to have that perspective of all of those organizations and bring it into the discussions in the C-suite is going to be your Chief Communication Officer. Regulation, government regulation has also helped change the complexity of the Chief Communication Officer's job. Diffusion of media, we'll talk about this in a little more detail, but simply the idea that there are so many ways to communicate today as compared to 40 years ago when you had your 3 major networks and that was about it on television. Today you've got hundreds of cable channels. I don't have to tell you, you've got blogs, you've got YouTube, you've got the internet, you've got all of these things which are terrific communication tools and terrific opportunities, but they also add a certain level of complexity to running a corporation. Corporate scandals, obviously, the Enron debacle, the Bernie Madoff situation, some of the banking situations, all of these things also add complexity to your job. So these are challenges that CEOs face. The one other thing that is changed in the last several years is employee loyalty. My father worked for one company for 40 years and then retired. Most of you, I'm told, are going to work for 7, 10, 12 different companies before you retire. So the idea of signing up with one company, remaining loyal to that company for your entire career, and being an advocate for that company's position, those days are gone. And in fact, many companies are probably also gone. You know, we've seen a lot of change, a lot of churn, and things just seem to be happening a lot faster today than they ever have before.